Hello, hello, good evening,
Hello.
everybody. Welcome to Free Flow, episode 10, where we are exploring the five, I nearly said the five chambers of secrets, the five menstrual chambers, not related to Harry Potter. Um, Last episode we had a little deep dive into, I'm looking at my notes, at menstrual chamber, yes, this first chamber of menstruation, which was separation slash the void. Venture into the
Yeah.
void, I think, was the tagline for that one, Julia,
I
after that
like it.
episode. And
Nice.
today we're going to deep dive into the second chamber, which is surrender, um which is perfect because what day of your cycle are you on, Julia?
Day one.
Day one. It's all
Um,
good.
yeah,
Day one.
an unexpected day one,
An unexpected day
actually.
one.
And
How
also,
how you feeling?
yeah, right.
Eh,
But day one is usually quite a hard day for me.
mm,
Yeah, days one and two. But I have to say, um, this was it was very strange because usually I have spotting or I it happens like it's during the day that it happens or in
mm,
the evening or like I kind of know it's the build up is there.
mm.
But this one was like I woke up at I don't know what time, it was really early in the morning, and I went to the toilet and I was like, kind of feels like my period. So it
Yeah.
was really sudden.
Mm,
And I didn't see it coming. I know that sounds
yeah.
weird, but it was also very
No, I
early.
get it. My last one,
So.
I woke up and I was like, oh, because mine was also a couple of days early, and I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna be on my period like any minute now.
It's
And I woke up and I
now.
was like, I was like, please don't ever ruin this favorite pair of like pink comfy like sweatpants that I had that I kind of fell asleep in. But they're like my what I wear in my period like the whole time. Like they're just this cute pink set and they look adorable. And what are you
Yeah.
wearing now? My neighbors are driving me nuts. If you ever happen to listen to this podcast, just can you shut the fuck up, please? Because you just make noise all the time. Drives me nuts. I'm like, why are you banging now? You haven't banged all day. Now, as soon as I
Uh,
hit record, they're like, let me just hammer in this
let
more
me just hang up this
off.
picture.
Um, anyway, it's not at all distracting and incredibly annoying. So someone with ADHD. Yeah, but and I literally like didn't. Yeah, I went to the bathroom and then I was like, oh, here it is. It just was literally like in the toilet. TMI for anyone listening. Do you know what? I don't even give a fuck anymore. Let's just talk about this shit. It's fine. And I was
Yeah,
like, yes, because I was just so happy because I was like, please don't have destroyed my favorite my
yeah.
favorite sweatpants, please. And it was all but normally I will
Yeah.
like if I'm feeling hesitant and I'm like, I don't know, falling asleep in something cute that I don't want to destroy, then I will have just put on, I don't know, like
Put a pad on or
a
something.
pad, yeah, or my little panties or
Yeah.
something that are like the period
Well,
pants. But
that's
you know,
yeah. Well, I had because I woke up and I thought, "Ooh, there's movement here," but I was like,
mm,
it's too early. It's too early. It's something else. And then I thought I couldn't sleep because I was like, something's gonna get messed up, like the sheet
mm,
or stuff. So I was like, I'll just go and put some pants on. And I was like, no, the pants are gonna get messed. So I was like, just go to the freaking toilet, Julia, and see
yeah,
what's
just
happening.
sort it out. It'll be fine.
And then I was like, okay, need to put a pad
Yeah,
on.
like okay, it's
So
all
I'm
good.
glad I did.
Yeah.
Because I was like, what would you rather? Get up now and put a pad on and be disturbed, disturb your sleep, or in the morning have to clean all the sheets.
Mm.
And I was like, I know which one I'd
I
prefer.
know the one, the lesser of two evils.
Yeah. So
Oh my
yeah,
days.
so day one is sorry, and you are on.
I'm on day 10.
Yeah. Is that spring?
We'll keep
Summer?
talking. This is driving me actually insane, and I can't believe they're doing it because I just want to murder someone. And I don't even care if they can hear me because come on, are they going to
You can
stop?
pause it. Pause the recording if you
Can
want.
I?
You should be able to.
Oh, let me see.
Pause and then restart it. Yeah.
Oh, I can pause.
Yeah.
Oh, let me pause whilst I shimmy downstairs.
Yep.
Okay.
No worries.
Okay, right. I have moved. If
Okay.
you're seeing this on YouTube, if I end up uploading it, which I don't know, we'll have to see about the whole YouTube thing. Anyway, I've moved downstairs because the hammering was driving me a little bit insane. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm on cycle day 10. So in my inner spring, feeling
Spring.
springy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Feeling springy.
quite kind of, nicely energized today, and yeah, pretty good
Great.
really. Yeah, it's been a good
Mm-hmm.
been a good couple of days, feeling a bit more balanced after a mental week last week, so that was always fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've got my little notes here. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're going to do a little exploration of surrender. So
Yeah.
these are, again, if you didn't listen to last week's, please do have a little listen, because we kind of, speak about it a bit more then, and give a kind of a bit of an overview. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'll just kind of have a little readout of my notes here. So yeah, surrender. So release of tension, negative feelings and tiredness, grief, relief, letting go and kind of grounding into your being. So yeah,
Mm.
so the separation chamber, I think, is really tends to come to us on the first day of bleeding. And again, the big red
Okay.
rule, so you might feel like it comes at a slightly
Mm.
different time, and again, that's okay, we're just honoring where we're at. But I think it helps to do that,
Mm.
because we kind of have that separation with the void, and then the surrender, we kind of have to, I feel like, for me anyway, I kind of have to separate a little bit first to then be able to kind of sink into that surrender, to kind
Mm.
of being in your own little, bubble a little bit, and then allowing the surrender to kind of come. um
Yeah.
yeah,
Is
so
it just day one? Is it just one day?
yeah, so it kind of, for when I've looked at it in with Red School, again, it's really is, yeah, the first day of bleeding. But I think the next chamber is the renewal slash home. So I think that,
Okay.
and we'll obviously dive into that a little bit more next week, and that's kind of where we get
Mm.
sort of the kind of the mother hug, as they kind of call it
Mm.
in Red School. And so I think surrender really comes on that
Oh.
first day. I think it's kind of that, a little bit like when we discussed about sort of luteal phase, and sort of slowing your roll, and sort of the late Indian summer with the sort of the stop, drop and roll. It's kind of like,
Mm.
you're really gonna actually roll now. You just kind of gotta be, stopping and
Get on
dropping
the
really.
floor, lie
Yeah.
down,
Get into your, like, your
and
little
just have
bed.
a little roll
Yeah,
around in the
have a little
grass,
moment, be in your little, your little egg. We've got a little,
cocooning yourself
like we're here, we're just kind of in our little,
in my
our
cocoon.
egg. Yeah, in our little cocoon. So I think, and again, they might come through. I mean, we're kind of going through it with a bit of an order, but they might pop through
Mm.
at different points. You might kind of have this nice like separation.
Mm.
You might feel that, at a slightly different point. So again, it's really
Mm.
playing with the red rule, and kind of, your own cycle, your own rules. I think it's so easy to like want to give them, this order, because it's just how we are as
Okay.
people, but I think it's
Yeah,
okay, if
linear.
it's a bit different, and it might be a bit different each cycle, and you might notice it more as
Mm.
you explore this, because I know that, Julia, with you, I mean, for me, it's still quite new exploring that. It's probably been maybe about a year of kind of doing, exploring this part, the five menstrual chambers. But for
Mm.
most people, the seasons will be something they're familiar with, but this,
Yeah.
this in within that menstruation,
Yeah.
within in the winter, is a bit
It's
different.
new.
Yeah, so
Is this the
yeah.
chambers? Is sorry, it's
Mm.
just the sort of autumn winter. It's just the luteal phase, is it?
It's really the chambers, so it's the five chambers of menstruation. So really it's inner winter.
Ah,
So
okay.
just, yes,
Okay.
just the bleeding. But
Okay.
because last week with the separation with the void, that can be, now this is where it can be a bit interesting to explain it. So with regards to inner winter, I always tend to
Mm.
explain it as day one is day one of inner winter, because it's your bleed, it's your flow.
Mm.
However, you could say that inner winter starts, say if you've got a 28-day cycle, you could say that inner winter might start, technically, it might start on the 27th, because you might be getting that feeling of separation. And that for you
Mm.
might be like, oh, I feel like I've landed in a winter. I do it personally for me,
Yeah.
inner winter day one, also just with ADHD personally, day one, full day of bleed, that's day one. It's just easier. But you could
Yeah.
say that inner winter doesn't necessarily have to be, and I guess this goes as well with people that don't have a bleed for whatever reason, but inner winter doesn't have to be you are bleeding. Does that
Mm.
make sense? It's a bit
Yeah.
hazy, but I tend to go with day one inner winter just for the ease of it and for tracking. But we could say, yeah,
Yeah.
with the separation with the void, very late autumn, you know, um, could kind of feel like that early winter. So the leaves are kind of, the last leaves
Mm.
are dropping from the trees kind of vibe, could be that separation. So
Yeah.
yeah, again,
Yeah.
it's not, don't get too caught up on it and having it as a You know, it has to be dogmatic, because it's, I mean, I say that because I did do that myself all the time. And I'm like, it's not going in the order or whatever. But just to give a little bit of a bit of an idea. So
also these chambers it could be one day. So like this separation, surrender is day one, typically.
Day one. So the surrender is the first day of bleeding. And again, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to mean, I don't always have a 5-day period. Most of the time I will bleed for 5 days these days. I used to have it 4, I used to have it for 7, you know, it's kind of played around a bit. So again, it doesn't have to be like a, you know, a full day of each. Separation for me, for example, last week's episode, that for me really kind of pops in. Sometimes it will be, you know, a couple of hours to a few days before my bleed. Like I'll just be on a walk and I'll be like late autumn, you know, in autumn, and I'll be like, oh, there it is, you know. Or I'll be at work suddenly and my brain's like, and I'm like, oh, it's here, you know. So it tends to happen more when I'm able to relax in a bit more of a liminal space. So I tend to, you know, if I'm kind of in work mode, I won't always, but sometimes. And I remember in Wild Power, in the book that Red School wrote, there was an example of, I think it was Jane, and she was it Jane? I think it was, and she was an engineer, and she was kind of doing, you know, hard at work doing her thing, and suddenly I think she kind of dropped into separation. I think that's an example they give in the book. So again, it depends, you know, it might just pop in when you are focused on something, or it might pop in when you've got a bit of headspace to kind of navigate that and notice it. So again, it's you know, some of these might merge together, they might kind of overlap a little bit, and it's just kind of allowing ourselves to be cyclical, right? And it might change from season to season, from cycle to cycle. It might change where you're at in your life, / what's going on, you know, with yourself or whatever. So that really, so the surrender of that kind of, that release of the tension. And then sometimes, I've put kind of negative feelings and tiredness, grief, relief, letting go. So kind of just really dropping everything, like just dropping the bundle and kind of grounding into your being, whatever that might be. So that however that kind of feels good for you. And it doesn't always need to be like an action, you know, really inner winter is really that time for rest. So it's kind of just dropping the doing. There might be some things that we can do, which we spoke about in the inner winter episode, which would have been episode 1. And now we're on episode 10, and you're on cycle day 1 and I'm on cycle day 10. Da, 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 da. The patterns, the unnecessary patterns forming in my brain.
It means something.
It means something.
I don't know what it is.
I love it. I don't know what it means, but it means something. So it's so it's kind of, so there might be some like activities that we can do, quote unquote do, to kind of nudge us in that way. So, you know, our lovely cacao ceremonies, or our little bath rituals, or whatever those things are. So it's kind of, you know, we don't have to do these things. I'm not like, oh God, I've got to do the thing. Sometimes I'll do that, you know, I'll be like, I haven't had my bath. How am I going to surrender? And it's like, remember, you could just choose to surrender, right? The bath kind of just helps a bit, but you could just surrender and not have a bath because you're actually tired and you need to get your ass into bed. So, and that's your surrendering task of the day.
I find also part of it is letting go. Like, I don't care as much about stuff.
It comes
like today,
so much
I was just like, I just don't care if people like me, or if I'm wearing the right thing, or you know what I mean. And I was like, oh,
that's why I think menopause is kind of cool, because the people I spoke with last year, they were like, I just wish I didn't give a fuck sooner. And I was like, all these like post-menopausal women was like, just don't give as much fucks, or. And I was like, that is an excellent advice, thank you. Like, time saved. You know, it's kind of that inner autumn. Like, I feel like with inner winter, it's almost like I don't have the energy to give any fucks, like, and I don't want to. And it's a very like calm. It's just kind of is an accepted state of my being. Whereas inner autumn is like, I don't give a fuck. It's like an angry teenager, like it's kind of, there's more like anger about it. Like, why the fuck should I give a fuck? You know, there's more of like an attitude. Whereas inner winter's like, I just don't.
Because cool. autumn it's like, I don't care, but that thing is still annoying me. And in winter you're just like, I'm just gonna sit here and look out the window.
Like, meh.
Who knows?
That's how I'm rolling now. It's so much nicer. Yeah, there's just no force with it. If we allow that,
Yeah.
there's no force, I think. And
Yeah.
that's a real, for me,
Yeah.
that's really a real, some good juice of what's in that season. I think that's really, really nice to be embraced, you know. As someone who gives far too many fucks, as we were just saying before the
Yeah.
call started, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
There's a
what else?
great book. Well, there's a couple of books, but one was written. I don't know which one came first, but a guy wrote one and a woman wrote another. So I don't know who
Oh, the
ripped off
subtle art of
who.
not giving a fuck and the art of
Yeah,
not giving a
the
fuck.
magic. I think hers is the
Oh, the
magic.
life-changing magic of not giving a fuck.
That's
Yes.
it.
A
Yes,
bit like Marie Kondo's The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. I have
that's
that book.
it.
I have both of those books actually. They're great. Also like Marie Kondo, you know, but yeah. And then the guy, I want to
It's
say his name's Mark. Someone just mentioned it. I was watching a YouTube video
yeah.
just before our call and someone mentioned that book. The other one that you
Okay.
talked about. I think the
Yeah.
woman wrote it first. There's the life-changing
Okay.
magic of not giving a fuck. And then I think the
Okay.
guy wrote the subtle art of not giving a fuck or something.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I've
haven't read
read
that.
the woman's, but the magic, the
Mm,
life-changing magic. And it's actually it's like a workbook. So it's if
mm,
you like workbooks, it's kind of like that. You know, she's like, right, make a list of the things you want to give a fuck about. Make a list of the things you give a fuck about and you don't like it's too much energy to
mm.
give up. And then she's like, and now it's clear. You
Yes. Yeah,
can
yeah, it
stop
is.
giving a
Yeah.
fuck
I
about
remember there's a
those
whole bit
things.
in, I think it's in that one, and it's about like even
Yeah.
just like cleaning out your emails. And I was like reading it, like, yeah, God, I just need to delete some emails. Because it was just like this, you know, thing of like, oh, it's just so annoying. It's taking up like mental space and it doesn't need to. And I was like, any book that can make me like delete like some of the 7,000 emails I thought was a good book. So I'll take it.
Anyway, yes. So
Yeah, I love that.
this
Yeah.
is probably winter is a good time to read that book.
Yeah,
You're like,
yeah, I think so.
I
Mhm.
don't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah,
Great.
it's gone. It's just no flying, you know, not just given anymore.
Yeah, it's so
Um,
nice.
yeah, I just yeah, so it's really a kind of time to just sort of stop or just go slow.
Mm,
The
mm.
chamber, I don't know where I've got this quote from. I'm assuming it's probably from Red School because anything that's in a quote and I haven't got a thing, it's probably because it's Red School, but it says chamber as the key that opens the temple door. I love that.
Oh, so what
The
does that
veil
mean?
drops. So the chamber is the key that opens the temple door. So
Mm.
when Red School are talking about the five chambers of menstruation, they're really talking about the home of your wild power. So menstruation itself being the home of your wild power. So it's kind of just dropping
Ah,
everything and being able to kind of tap into that. So if you
okay.
imagine it as like a little temple, it's sort of that chamber as a key. So really it's that, you know, that surrender, well, how I interpret it is surrender as the key to being able to kind of get through into that part of the temple of that home of the menstruation to kind of get back in touch with your with your wild power, with
With the
your
power.
wild calling, you know, with your, whatever you want to call it. I don't
Oh.
even know if I'd say dharma or purpose. I think it's even just a, I don't know. I remember
Oh,
when I had
there's
mine and I was like, oh, my calling just called, like, there it
Mm.
is. It kind
So
of is something
wait,
that doesn't really require
it's
any thought. It's just sort of there.
so they're saying this seat of wild power is menstruation. So as in when you're menstruating, you are more connected to
I
I don't
think
know
more,
your
yeah.
gut instinct or
I think more like source, more like
okay,
your, like your innate being.
okay,
Really hard to explain without doing
mm,
a lot of practice to it, but I recommend anyone to
yeah,
definitely read the book Wild Power because that
I
will
need to read this
give you
book.
more in depth. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's honestly it's so good. And then
yeah.
and also just allowing yourself to, and it takes a long time. It's not like you're gonna
Mm,
have a bleed
yeah,
now and you'll be like, I've
and
chosen to surrender, go, go, go. Like there's stuff that comes around every single
light bulb.
cycle. You know, we're always learning how we can kind of surrender better, how we can, you know,
Yeah,
it's a bit like with,
I
different jobs. It's like you're gonna
mm,
learn how to, not give a fuck about certain things quicker,
yes.
or you practice it
Or
basically.
recognize when you're giving too many fucks and be like,
Yeah.
okay, I need to take some of those off.
Mm,
But also, yeah, I have to say that now, since I learned about these downloads, as you call them, or Red School
mm,
calls them, like, so you're sort of, yeah, it's like you're connected more to your inner voice, inner source, power,
Yeah,
universal energy, whatever you want to call
yeah.
it, higher being. Um, and I think so. The last couple of periods I've had a revelation,
Mm,
like a very clear.
yes,
This is true for me.
yes.
And it's been, and I keep forgetting to write them down, and then I keep remembering at night when I'm lying there, like, oh yeah, I had that revelation, so I must write them down. But
Yes, yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
just this
write it down or
very
do a little voice
clear,
recording,
yeah,
Yes,
it's
it's
just
very, very
something.
clear. Yes.
It's
And
very
it's not like
clear.
a
Yeah.
decision. It's not like a,
No.
it's kind of like it's almost a very
Just
grounded thing. It's not like it's almost like it doesn't sort of come from here. It sort of comes from here. Like,
yeah, yeah,
kind of
yeah.
comes
No,
from
it's totally
inside, I suppose.
yeah, it's like a little message.
Yeah, yeah.
Your
And I
womb
think the
is
more you
sending you a
tap
little
into
message.
that, what were you saying?
Your womb is sending you a little message.
Yeah, yeah. I call it womb whispers.
Oh, that's
you know
nice. I
but then
like
obviously we
that.
can say, I like that because I love alliteration, but equally, to be inclusive as we try to do on the podcast. But
Yes.
I love calling it womb whispers, and you can still call it that, if you have a womb or you don't, if it's something that resonates.
Yeah.
And I just love that. I mean, like I say, I love a bit of alliteration, but it is yeah,
Mm.
it's a really
Yeah.
yeah, it's just very powerful. I think also the thing is
Yeah.
that the gift that you give yourself at menstruation, of that surrender and of just dropping the bundle, is that the more you do that, if you give yourself sort of like the 5% rule, I think that Red School, is it 1% or 5? I think it's 5%. It's like, give yourself 5%. Can you just spend 10 minutes with your feet up, daydreaming out the window?
Oh.
This week,
Oh.
can you do that for yourself? If you don't
Okay.
ever stop when you're on your bleed, can you maybe just do this one little thing? Because the next time
Okay.
that feels good, and then the next time you're on your bleed, you think, oh well, last time I managed to find 10 minutes. And I thought, oh,
Mm.
maybe this time we could do a 30-minute bath, you know,
Yeah.
lock the kids out or
Yeah.
whatever it is that you do as a parent. Can we give ourselves 30 minutes? And then you get more and
Yeah.
more and more of that. So it's kind of, and then obviously we're always finding ways around, if I know I'm going to be due on, and mine aren't mine change a little bit by a day or two. So it's pain in the bum sometimes. Because I'm like, oh, if they were like clockwork, I would be booking
Mm.
that time off of the month. I'd be
Yeah.
booking
You
off
would
dates
know.
2, 3.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll be
Yeah.
booking it off work
Yeah.
because I love it when they
Yes.
fall on a weekend. I'm like, okay, if I know that's happening, or if there's
Yeah.
a chance that it'll be on a weekend, I'm like, I'm not
Yeah.
making any plans. I'm
Don't
not,
plan
I'm not going to
anything.
London. I'm not going to my
Yeah.
dad's up the road. I'm like, nope, I am not making any plans.
I'm
No
staying
one talk
here.
to me. Yeah. I'm gonna make sure I have food in,
Phone is on
and
silent.
it's like a little retreat.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So it's really that, yeah, it's kind of allowing ourselves to drop that bundle, because then we're able to listen to those little menstrual messengers, or those little,
Mm.
whispers of the womb. And
Yeah.
yeah, the veil, I mean, there's, the veil
Menstrual
drops.
messages. I like that.
Yeah.
Sorry, the veil drops.
Yeah, the veil drops. And yeah, I think there's that embrace from the divine, with whatever divine means to you.
Mm.
It might
Mm.
mean, whatever it means. It could just be that it just feels super yummy. And I think that by having that surrender,
Yeah.
we are then really in that the feminine energy. And again, we all have feminine and masculine energy, but with that surrender, that is
Yes.
that really just allowing ourselves to receive. Really, we're just kind of allowing ourselves to drop
Mm.
in, surrender, chill the fuck
Mm-hmm.
out, drop all the
Mm-hmm.
fucks, fuckity fuck fuck. How many times can we get the word fuck on the podcast? Have a shot every time you hear the word fuck. Even better, have a sip of cacao every time you say the word
Cacao.
fuck.
I was just thinking that.
Open that heart, baby.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and just
And
let yourself,
receive.
yeah, just kind of drop in and receive, right? And that can be
Yeah.
just receive. And I don't mean like, it can just be receiving those messages, receiving, what the hell your body's been trying to tell you for ages, because you've just been go, 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 and not stopping
Yeah.
and not slowing down. Um,
Yeah.
and it's that rest, I put rest is radical, it's not for the weak, it's needed. Being guilt
Mm.
free, daring to pause, dare pause,
Mm.
you know. And there is so much power in
Mm.
doing nothing.
Mm.
Gosh, there's so much power in doing nothing. I think a really good example of this actually would be if you were like think of something that you're chasing, right? Imagine there's like, I don't know, when you're younger and as a guy, or maybe it's like a dream job, or but maybe
Mm.
it's just bigger goals now, right? Because it's always like we should have our whole lives together by the age of like 30, and you're like, no. I've been watching reruns
No.
of Friends recently, and I was like, God, these guys are like 26. I was like, I can like relate now. It's like, hang on a second, what's going on?
Still
Um,
feel like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I just think that,
Yeah.
when you sometimes when you are chasing, and there's like the vice grip on
Mm.
it, then
Mm.
it's just not coming because you're so
Yeah,
busy kind of
it's
almost chasing it. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
holding. I totally understand. It's
mm,
when you are, it's like the tighter you hold on to something, the less you have it, like the more it slips through your
yes,
fingers, that kind of thing.
yes, yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
Um,
try less hard. Try, I don't know
yeah,
what
sort of
better
again,
way
just
of saying
dropping
that is,
it.
but
Yeah, it's not like
yeah.
not doing
Stop
anything, but it's
trying
like,
so
oh,
hard.
let's just, yeah, kind of just surrendering into it, and
Yes.
allowing there to be some ease and some flow, if you'll pardon the pun.
There we go.
That's allowed. And I think,
Yeah.
I guess as well, I'm thinking we've got 2.5 minutes
We've got a
left.
couple of minutes. Yeah.
Yes. There are a few other bits to say, but
All right, go for
I
it.
think I'll read off my little list just to kind of to close off. So
Hmm.
yeah, there could be layers of more guilt if you, for example, have the ADHD diagnosis and you've done the whole, kind of self-flagellation for being lazy. That can be something that kind of pops up
Mm.
around here.
Mm.
And I also think if you don't stop, then your body will force you. I've kind of put a note in there. There's a lot of
Mhm.
people that have really had to slow down because their bodies just don't want to move,
Mm.
because they've been forcing it too much. Um,
Mm.
and I also put a little note here. You may need to feel really, really safe before you can allow yourself to let go and surrender. And what might
Mm.
that look like? So for me, that's like cacao, nature, bath, cushions, soft lights. It's napping. It's some quiet time, and it's kind of that avoidance, but in a good way of kind of keeping the world at bay. Um, and it's allowing yourself to like saunter and potter and just cherish yourself,
I love
burn the to-do
pottering.
list. I know, I love pottering
Mm.
and just kind of
That's
slowing down.
amazing.
And
Yeah.
surrender may be longer. So the chamber of surrender may be longer as you get a bit older than say like in your 20s.
Ah, okay.
And I've also just put, if you have a surge of energy, as I often do on the morning of my bleed, I'll sometimes have a surge of energy,
Mm.
savor it to renew your body and spirit rather than using it in a via positiva way. If you
Mm.
haven't listened to the
Yeah.
via positiva negativa, go back and listen to that episode. It's a couple episodes ago. Um,
Yeah.
because that will renew your body. And next episode, we're going to look
Mm.
at renewal and home. So that will kind of link back to that.
All right.
Less than a minute, Julia.
So,
Thanks so much,
okay.
everyone, for listening.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
have a little look at the show notes, and we will see you next time.
Yeah. All right. For the
Goodbye.
next chamber.
Yeah, next
Bye.
chamber. Bye.